Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Monatui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our GBA Season 7 Round 1 playoff match versus Chimpact, coach of the Philadelphia Scizors. If you have not done so already, please check out his YouTube link in the description below. Fantastic battler, uploads a lot of content, generally Pokemon related. However, something I want to go over before we get into this match. I apologize about the audio. For whatever reason, my laptop has been having some trouble recognizing my snowball. I know I mentioned this in my team builder, but in case you haven't heard, for whatever reason, my snowball is just not being picked up on my laptop. I'm trying to get a fix for that so I can bring the audio quality back. But for now, my laptop mic is pretty good, and hopefully you guys see it that way as well. But regardless, let us just hop into the team matchup. As you can see, Chimpact decided to bring his Thundurus Incarnate, his Volcanion, his Kyurem Black, his Forretress, his Silvally, and his Dugtrio. So pretty different team from the last time. Obviously, he traded away Alamomola before this match, so he wasn't able to use it. But Volcanion we did not see last time, Silvally and Dugtrio we also did not see last time. Kyurem Black and Thunder is still here, still as threatening as ever, and then Forretress is also there, which was there the last time. Looking at his team, it looks like Forretress is going to be his Rapid Spinner, because obviously he doesn't have any other forms of Rapid Spin. I'm not entirely sure what the Silvally is going to be. Could be normal, could be whatever, could be maybe Steeled in order to like deal with Forretress or something along those lines, as well as maybe Jirachi. The Dugtrio, I'm not exactly sure what it could be Banded, could be Sashed, I'm not exactly sure. Thundurus, I'm expecting kind of a similar set. Kyurem Black, once again, it could kind of be anything. And then Volcanion, well, it could be something along the lines of, like, Specs or Scarfed. I'm mostly fearing Subtoxic, just because that would be able to beat things like my Mantine, it'd be able to beat things like my Miltank, my Florges, all while being able to not get it sub-broken by Mantine, which would normally wall it. So, without further ado, let's get into the team that we actually ended up bringing, even though we do have an entire team builder dedicated to it. We have our Choice Specs Greninja, our Specially Defensive Miltank, our Mixed Defensive Mantine, our Double Dance Air Balloon Bisharp, we have our Scarf Florges, and we have our Stealth Rocking Healing Wish Jirachi. So, looking at his team, I actually decided that I wanted to lead with my Greninja, because it puts in a lot of work versus his team. Like I said, my team builder, it does not have a good switch in at all. Specs Dark Pulse is very spammable across his team, and that is exactly what I'm going to lead with, as he is going to lead with his Thundurus Incarnate. Now, I did the and a Specs Hydro Pump has a decent chance to knock him out, but Ice Beam is a guaranteed KO, so I'm going to go right for that. And as you're going to see here, he actually ends up having the Yachi Berry. Very good prep on his part. I didn't really see this coming on him because I didn't have like Ice Priority on my team. I didn't have Ice Shard. After Rocks, Greninja still knocks out Thundurus, so I didn't really expect him to be the Resist Berry. However, he is just going to be able to go right for a Volt Switch and knock out my Greninja, which is kind of annoying for me because even though I did get off good damage onto the Thundurus, which is a big threat to my team, he was able to get rid of one of the biggest offensive threats to his team. So, very good for him. However, we do have offensive threats on our team still. I'm going to send out my Jirachi here as he goes into his Kyurem Black, and what this allows me to do is just go for my Stealth Rock, because he's not going to want to stay in on a Jirachi. He doesn't know what set I am yet, so he's going to switch right out into his Volcanion, as I am going to go right for those Stealth Rock. Being able to get them up means that Thundy is going to take a lot of damage on switch in. This Volcanion will take some damage when it switches in again. Kyurem Black is going to take some damage, which is really nice. And now what I can just do is go out into my Miltank, possibly expecting a sub, but as you're going to see here, he actually just goes right for the Flamethrower, which I'm very okay with, and as you're going to see here, not going to do a lot of damage, but unfortunately for me, he actually ends up getting the burn. Kind of fortunate and unfortunate at the same time, because if he has like a Subtoxic Volcanion, he can't Toxic me now, which is kind of nice, but now that I'm burnt, I'm going to be doing a lot less damage to the Kyurem, which is really annoying. Like, if he's a sub Kyurem, I definitely cannot break it sub with a Body Slam, possibly not even 2 Body Slams. But again, I can't be poisoned by something on his team, so it might work out for me eventually. He's actually going to hard switch into his Kyurem here. I kind of expected him to do something along those lines, either go into this Kyurem or go out into something like Thundurus, trying to capitalize on me being burnt and he can live the hit. So I'm going to go right out into my Scarf Florges as his Kyurem is going to reveal Leftovers, which is good information to know because he is not Scarfed, obviously. He's not a boosting item, which means that I can take an Iron Head from this thing. So I'm just going to fire off a Moonblast, gonna hit this Kyurem, and that's not going to knock it out. However, it is going to put it very low, to the point where another Moonblast will be able to knock it out. He can barely switch into Rocks once again, and as predicted, we are going to be able to live that Iron Head, meaning that we can go for another Moonblast and hit something on his team pretty hard, because nothing wants to switch into this Florges, really. He does have the Forretress, but Forretress doesn't necessarily want to switch into Rocks plus this Moonblast, but as you're going to see here, he actually pulls out the Silvally, And I wasn't sure at first based on the color because I haven't really faced Silvally on Wi-Fi, but as you're going to see here, that Moonblast is going to end up being resisted, meaning that this is actually Silvally Poison, which is a pretty good stop to this Florges. So I'm going to have to switch out here. Oh, subscription alert. Oh boy, lost Norton. I'll have to deal with that later. He's going to go for Parting Shot as I send in the Miltank. I debated going out in a Bisharp, but I didn't want to risk him going for something that could have possibly broken my Air Balloon, even if it wasn't going to do a lot of damage. I need that Air Balloon intact. But we are out in with the Miltank, and he is going to go right out into his Fortress, and I'm pretty sure he's going to use this as an opportunity to go for a Rapid Spin. He could get up his own rocks, but rocks against him are a lot more valuable than rocks against me, so I'm pretty sure he's going to try and prioritize getting rid of Stealth Rocks on his side of the field. So I'm going to go right back out into my Jirachi, not only to threaten this thing with a Fire Punch, but also to try and get my rocks back up as soon as possible. So as you can see here, I'm going to switch out right out into that Jirachi as he is going to go for the expected Rapid Spin, which is annoying, but I can get my rocks back up, which is what I'm going to try and do soon. However, on this turn, because I don't want him just going for Volt Switch and gaining momentum, and because I do want damage on this Fortress so that Florges can sweep later on, I am going to go for that Fire Punch in order to weaken this Fortress quite a bit. And now he is not a switch into Florges. With rocks up, he cannot hard switch into Florges' Moonblast, which is really nice. He's just going to go for a Volt Switch in order to get himself out of there. And instead of going into Volcanion, which I kind of thought he would do, he's actually going to go out into Thundurus. Makes sense. Volcanion, I have two pretty good switch-ins too, whereas Thundurus is a little bit more difficult. He is going to go for the knockoff. Not going to do too much damage to me. Going to knock off my Shuka Berry, and I will be able to go right for my rocks. And because I do have Healing Wish on this Jirachi, I was able to play a little bit more aggressively with my Florges earlier on, so he's going to go for the Volt Switch here. He couldn't knock me out with any one of his moves. He's going to go right for that Volt Switch. We're going to tank it, and I am going to go right for that Healing Wish in order to get my Florges back up to a good amount of HP. He is going to send him in his Volcanion, which is a little bit annoying because Florges doesn't like being in front of a Volcanion most of the time, but once again, I do have other switch-ins to this Volcanion, being my special defensive Miltank as well as my Mantine. And based on the fact that he hasn't gone for sub yet, I'm pretty sure he's not going to be sub-toxic. Also, he is going to reveal after this turn that he is actually not going to be leftovers. And I would assume if he were a sub-toxic variant, he would have had leftovers on this thing in order to obviously negate some of the health taken away from the subs. But as you can see here, we're going to go out into our Mantine. It's a pretty hard counter to this thing. Even if he has HP Electric and he goes for it here, I do have the Wakan Berry in order to take it, and I can go for the Mirror Coat afterwards or go for a Toxic. As you can see here, he's going to go for the Sludge Bomb. He's then going to go for another Sludge Bomb directly afterwards, and because that's not Specs damage, I'm thinking that this could possibly be Scarf damage, but he also, I wasn't fully convinced because there's also a decent chance that he was just going for the possible Poison. He didn't know if I was Wakan or not. Regardless, getting a Poison onto me would have been really nice for him because I'm taking 12% more damage. I don't have leftovers. That would have been really good. And here, he is going to send out his Fortress as I am going to go for the Roost. Very good play on his part because now he can go for the Rapid Spin and I cannot knock this thing out with Scald. And he will be able to get rid of the rocks that I can no longer set up because my Jirachi is gone. So I know he's going to go for Rapid Spin. I doubt he's going for Volt Switch. That would just mean that rocks are up on his side of the field. So my best play overall is to just go for the Scald, try and get some damage off onto this thing, 2 KO this thing, make it so that he can't really switch into me again. But as you can see here, I actually end up getting a crit. And I'm going to pause it here and we're going to talk about that crit a little bit. That crit is really significant. He has 3 things weak to rocks, 3 very, very big offensive threats to my team that are weak to rocks, the Kyurem Black, the Thundurus, and the Volcanion. Particularly the Kyurem really appreciates not having rocks up. Even everything else on his team, having rocks up on his side of the field is really bad for. Like with the Volcanion, with rocks up on his side of the field, the Volcanion can't really safely switch into my Florges because it's going to be taking 25% from the rocks, and then it's going to be taking 20 to 25% from the Moonblast, and that's really bad for him. Again, the Kyurem, it's just huge because that means that I'm getting a lot of free damage off onto it. But regardless, that's a crit. I'm not going to, downplay its significance. That's really big. And now what he has to do is kind of go out and do his Kyurem. And instead of being able to go for an attack, which he could have done if he had been able to get off that Rapid Spin, he is now forced into a position where he has to Roost. And I know this, so I'm going to go right out into my Florges. If he goes for Bolt Strike, or if he goes for Fusion Bolt rather, he's not going to be able to knock me out, and I can knock him out with the Moonblast afterwards, and he can't really switch out, or else he's going to die to rocks on re-entry, since his remover is gone. So he's going to go for the Roost here. and bring himself to a decent amount of HP. I believe just out of range of Moonblast, but once again, I can 2 KO this Kyurem, and he cannot 2 KO me because I am faster than him, because I am Scarfed. So I'm just going to make the play of going for Moonblast once again. It'll get a lot of damage off on the whatever wants to come in. Again, the rocks being up are going to be very important here, because now I will be able to 2 KO this Volcanion with Moonblast, whereas without the rocks, I believe I would not have been able to. It's just a really crappy situation for him, because now this Volcanion's going to go down, and Volcanion was a great way of dealing with my Bisharp. It could have offensively and in some ways defensively checked the Florges, but now with the rocks up, this thing is no longer a counter, and it is going to go down to Moonblast from where it was at. He has the opportunity now to go out into his Sylvally Poison, pretty much the only thing he has that's stopping this Florges. Once again, going to take a little bit of chip damage with the rocks, and I am forced to switch out here. I'm expecting him to either go for a Poison move or a Parting Shot, so I'm going to go out into my Bisharp. Parting Shot would be nice because I'd get up to +3 with, you know, Defiant and whatnot. He's actually just going to go for the Poison Fang and then follow up with a Flamethrower, because I'm expecting this thing to be a little bit more bulky, and because Sylvally's not the strongest Pokemon in the world, I will be able to live the Flamethrower and get off the damage I need onto this thing with the Iron Head to now put it in range of Moonblast if he switches out, which, as you're going to see here, he does. I'm not sure if he was expecting the Sucker Punch there, but he does not know that I don't have Sucker Punch. I'm just going to go right for another Iron Head, basically stacking off my Bisharp, as he, unfortunately, stacks off his Dugtrio, which means that I don't have to worry about Dugtrio trying to trap, like, I don't know, I guess Dugtrio wasn't really that important for him, but it could have still been useful as possibly a stack later on, or maybe if he was able to weaken something, he could have gone for Sucker Punch and picked something off. Even Florges, because I'm not invested in defense, would have done a little bit of damage to him, and maybe if he had hit me with an Iron Head, that would have been, it would have put me in range of Sucker Punch. But regardless, he sends out his Kyurem Black here. Google Chrome Protection Alert, that's cool. You guys are getting all sort of, oh boy, Internet Explorer Protection Alert, cool. Check all that stuff out later. Earth Power is going to kill me. He couldn't set up, he couldn't go for a Roost or anything like that because he was in front of a Bisharp, and Iron Head would do a ton. But now Florges is going to come in, and Florges is basically going to be able to clean up this game unless he's able to pull something crazy out of the bag. But Moonblast is going to knock out the Kyurem from the range he was at. Again, I know, without Rocks up, he wouldn't have been in range of Moonblast from there, and he wouldn't have been able to live and possibly hit me with an Iron Head and possibly pick me off a little bit later. And now with the rocks up, this Sylvally is going to be in range of Moonblast. It's going to go out, and it's going to be able to knock him out. And then all he has left now is going to be his Thundurus, and unless he has Thunder Wave and gets like a million full pairs in a row, he's not going to be able to win this game. As you're going to see here, he actually is going to have the Thunder Wave, but again, there's really not too much else he can do. He's not a Z Crystal, obviously. He can't hit me with Z Iron Tail, can't hit me with like a Z Wild Charge, something along those lines. No Supersonic Sky Strike, and we are not going to get fully paired, and we are going to be able to knock out this Thundurus and win the first round of GBA Season 7 playoffs 3-0 over Chimpact, coach of the Philadelphia Scizors. Now, I've mentioned this many times already. I'm just waiting for his face to pop up, as always. There we go. The crit on Fortress was huge. That was the only piece of hacks during the entirety of this game, but that one piece of hacks was crucial to determining the winner of this game. I don't think I was going to necessarily lose if I didn't get that crit, but it is a completely different game if the rocks are not up on his side of the field. I still had my Scarflorges, big threat to his team. Still had Bisharp, which I could have had an opportunity to set up, particularly in front of the Kyurem. Like, I was Rock Polish, so at that point maybe it would have been able to sweep. But regardless, without the crit on Fortress, it would have been a very different game. Definitely it would have been a game more even, possibly in his favor. I'm not exactly sure. I can't really fabricate what would have happened. But regardless, that's Pokemon. I can't control it, and we are going to take this win because this is going to move us into the semifinals versus, I'm going to spoil who won the game between George and Gator, so if you don't want to hear, then tune out now. But in that game, in the quarterfinal match between George and Gator, George actually ended up winning, and so we are going up against George in the semifinals, the former champion, Season 6 champion. So I'm really looking forward to that. We always have great, very, very close games, very intense games, and I'm really looking forward to taking him on. Kind of sad because we're decent friends, and one of us is going to have to knock the other out. But regardless, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and whoever wins that game is going to end up moving on to the finals. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, next week we're going up against George, aka Septile MC. And yeah, and I'll see you then.